All right. So.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah.
One sec. Sorry. Thank you for listening in, everybody that's here. Thanks for being here. Everybody online, thanks for listening. I'm just going to quickly introduce Trevor and Katie. They are with Family Life Ministry, and they have something to share for us this evening. So, with that said.
All right, thank you. Thank you everybody for having us. Linda for setting it up, and Pastor Johnson and everyone else for letting us come and talk with you guys. I'm Trevor, as he said, and
I'm Katie.
And this is our daughter Ava. She just had her 1-year-old birthday, so we were going to bring her, but we were like, it might be a big distraction. Like, what you doing? So
like it's into her bedtime. So.
Yeah, bedtime. So. But we just wanted to show y'all a picture of her because she does most of the talking for us. So.
Sometimes she does.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like he said, we're part of Family Life Ministries, and it's part of Crew as well. So just kind of sort of what we're going to be talking about tonight is we want to share with you about the ministry. We'll tell you a little bit about Crew, about why we feel called to the ministry. We'll show you a quick video. We'll talk about kind of our personal journeys of why we feel called to this ministry, and then we'll talk to you about how you guys could potentially partner with us if you feel led to. You know, no one has to make any kind of decisions or anything tonight, but we'll just give you an opportunity, if you want to, for us to connect with you later about that. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about, and the different ministries Family Life does as well. So with all that said, has anyone heard of Crew or Campus Crusade for Christ before? Some of y'all have. What do y'all know about it? Probably some videos, yeah. Most people are like, yeah, I think I've heard of that. But they're primarily known for campus ministry. They're all over the world. They actually told us in training that, I see some looks over there. So they actually told us in training that Crew is in more countries around the world than McDonald's. So they're all over the place, but it's not just campus ministry. They have so many other ministries. Some of you may be familiar with Josh McDowell Ministries, Jesus Film, Athletes in Action, to name a few, but there's probably Valor, yes, military ministry. Well. They have good military ministry, a lot of good ministries out there, humanitarian ones as well, but ours is part of Crew, and it's Family Life, and it is a family ministry. So we'll share with you about that. I want us to watch a quick video, and then we'll get back with y'all in a second. If not, that's okay. Oh, there it goes.
Scroll down.
Yep, there's the video.
Got that good internet out here. Sorry, you're good.
While he's doing that, since I'm dad for a year, I'm going to tell you a dad joke. All right? It's important.
It is.
So, when does a dad joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. I don't know where.
A database.
A database. Nice.
I got a t-shirt. I got one for Father's Day.
You got me that t-shirt.
I got him a similar one. It was a dad joke one.
Yeah,
So,
tell him what it was.
Well, you might have seen it too. It says dad joke loading.
Yeah, and it's got like a little thing, and
Yeah, you actually.
I almost wore it tonight,
Yeah.
but she also got me this one. So I'm like, oh, wear this one. All right, perfect timing.
Family's hard. Really hard. It means learning how to hold joy in one hand and pain in the other. It means celebrating together while grieving loss. Finding strength.
More jokes if you need them, right? Comedy hour. We can share a little bit first if it needs some time to load. What if we share about our stories first? And then we're going to go out of order, maybe. I think that'd be good. We're just going to share a little bit about us and why we feel called to this specific ministry, like our personal journey, and then we'll watch the video and talk about why we feel called to family ministry specifically after that. So,
Well, I do want to say what family ministry is. It is a ministry, but it focuses on family, and of course, specifically marriages, strengthening marriages. But there's a lot of different aspects to that because you're also sharing Christ with people. So it's using marriage ministry as a platform for evangelism. So it's kind of like if you can connect with people that either want to strengthen their marriage, or maybe they're in marriage crisis, or they're just like, hey, let's have a good marriage, or you're parenting kids and you're just like, okay, help me, how do I do this, or I need good tips for toddlers or teenagers or adult kids or whatever it may be. So the point is, it's ministry, and you're using that as a way to help in those contexts, but you're also using it to share Christ with people and discipleship others in that context, right? So it's kind of about that. So I needed to kind of set the preface for that because that explains a little bit of, I guess, where I felt like God's leading me to in my call, I should say. Pastor Jonathan, we were talking to you about, like, when was that moment? Like, you actually asked the Lord, God, what do you want me to do in my life, right? So I actually asked that since I was like really, really young. And it was and I always knew I always was evangelizing. I didn't know it was actually called evangelizing. I just would share Christ with people, and I just didn't know that was the term, right? So fast forward to college, I got involved in a campus ministry it was similar to Cru, it was just called InterVarsity. But the point is, fast forward to I'm about to graduate with my teaching degree, and God's like, no, I think you're gonna do full-time ministry. And I was actually really excited about that, and I was like, okay, God, let's do it. Okay. My parents, not so much, because I was just about to graduate and be able to earn money for once, and they're like, wait, you're gonna be a missionary? So they had a hard time with that. Anyway, the doors closed. I don't know why. It was one of those confusing times in my life where I kept on asking, but God, you just told me to be a missionary. Now you're closing doors. You're not letting this happen. Like, I'm so confused. However, the different jobs I've had now for the past 10 plus years, I've been able to do ministry in different contexts. I personally don't believe you have to be a pastor or a missionary to do God's work. You can do that exactly where you are, exactly what you're doing. It's just all about your obedience or intentionality, right? So for the past 10 plus years, I was just always trying to be intentional wherever I was at, wherever God put me. But why this now was because we attended a leadership conference in Longview. It was 2019 or 2018. I don't know. It's all confusing, right? Before COVID, let's just say that. BC, before COVID. That's the new BC, I think. But anyway, the leadership conference was all about the parable of the talents, right? God gives us gifts. God gives us time. God gives us money. What do we do with them? Do we bury them, save them, multiply them? So my big question that I prayed, I kept on praying ever since whenever, was, all right, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I can stay doing this job, I can stay doing this, but what do you want me to do? And so that was when God specifically said Cru, And he had confirmed that multiple times. Some of you might have the experience where you might not believe him the first time or the second time or maybe the third. I don't. So God just will keep on bringing it back just to make sure you know that yes, you did hear God correctly. So it was one of those experiences where God was like, yes, Cru. Now at the time, I thought Cru was only college ministry, and that was also a big passion of mine as well. So I was all for college ministry. But then God started working in Trevor's life, in my life. I mean, the way that he brought it into this family life ministry is because it is a part of Cru. It's just like we explained before, it's a subset ministry of Cru. And so also little did I know, this conference I'm explaining to you guys was in September of whatever year that was, 2019 maybe. And we found out we were pregnant in October. So I wasn't even thinking family life because I wasn't even thinking about being a mom yet, right? I wasn't thinking about that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, we are about to start a family. And Trevor's side, who's going to get into it in a minute, he was about to finish his master's in marriage and family counseling. So it was definitely his wheelhouse right there. And then God was just confirming in me as well that was the context that God was bringing us into. So that's kind of what led us into this family life ministry. For me, the whole evangelism piece is really what drew me into it, is because it's sharing Christ with people, but it's also meeting the needs of trying to help people in their marriages and in their families, bringing God back into the center. This is a ministry that's internationally and in America. We will be here in America. America needs some help right now. I think everyone knows that. And so I think we are happy to be stationed here in America so we can help just bring some Lord into our families here. So
yeah.
That's kind of my story about why and how and why family life for me. Trevor, go ahead.
So for me, I actually grew up in Hawkins, so not too far away. Katie didn't say that, but she's from Chicago area. We recruited her down here. So
I've been here 7-8 years. So now my Illinois friends are like, oh, you sound Southern. I don't know what I sound like at this point, but they make fun.
So when I was 14, my parents got a divorce, and that was the hardest time of my life at that point. But God began speaking to me that I kind of grew up in a Christian home, right? And so my grandparents were missionaries in Africa, and so I always believed in God. I prayed the prayer, when I was 7, they're like, do you want to go to heaven? Yes. Do you want God to have your back? Yes. Repeat this. Okay, got it. Walked the aisle, prayed the prayer. God's got my back. Life's going to be good. And after their divorce, I went to a youth conference, and I really felt God speaking to me that I called myself a Christian, but I was just living for myself. I wasn't following Christ. I was wanting Christ to follow me, right? So that's when I really surrendered my life to Christ, made him Lord of my life, and from then everything changed, and it brought a lot of healing to me personally through a hard situation. It gave me purpose during those formative years in adolescence, really helped keep me on the right path, really brought healing and wholeness to me during a hard time. So that I've always kind of had a heart for putting God into family and just seeing how that transforms, because it worked for me, So as an adult, I felt called to ministry, but I didn't really know where. But it was about 8 years ago that I felt God calling me specifically to marriages and families. I saw the need. Obviously, I had a personal experience as well. And so I pursued my master's at LeTourneau in counseling and got that. And well, people know LeTourneau because it's in Longview. Katie works at LeTourneau, side note, but she didn't at the time. But anyways, so the normal route with that is you get this degree. Afterwards, you graduate. Well, you spend a lot of money, first of all. Then afterwards, you graduate, and you're supposed to have this better career and all that kind of stuff. And it's towards what God wanted me to do, So I had a job as a mental health caseworker at Community Health Corps in Longview. So I already had clients. So after you graduate, you see clients for a couple of years, and then you can become a therapist. And I had some pay raises and promotions right around the corner, already had a job, already had clients. But God, he started knocking on the door of our hearts and just telling us that I wasn't supposed to be licensed, and it didn't make sense. And this is kind of connecting with your pastor's story to me a little bit with some things that didn't make sense, but we didn't know what the next step was. We just felt like God was saying not to get licensed. And so after arguing about that for a while with God, we finally surrendered that. And because we knew we were pregnant and we needed the extra money as well, right? So after we surrendered that, it was probably within a couple of weeks that we learned about family life. And for me, it really resonated with me right away, exactly what I wanted to do 8 years before, what God had put on my heart. I wanted to work with a ministry organization, helping families, bringing Christ to the center, and just being a part of a marriage movement. So, and family, parenting, things like that. So, I really connected with the mission statement of Family Life, which is to effectively develop marriages and families to change the world one home at a time. So Katie talked about the evangelism piece. There's also, of course, trying to help families. There's some discipleship and like helping them be healthy. But then there's also the sending piece, the multiplication piece that she mentioned from the conference as well, where we're not just saying, hey, we want to help your family, okay, bye. It's we want to help your family live on mission. We want to help you impact the world around you. And it's not just about you and your family being happy and everything, which is good and great, but it's about impacting the world for Christ and doing that in a family context, or really whatever context God puts on your heart. But so that's what really resonated with me. That's kind of our stories. And how's the video coming? Is it good to go? All right, we'll go to that.
Family's hard. Really hard. It means learning how to hold joy in one hand and pain in the other. It means celebrating together while grieving loss, finding strength and vulnerability. Whether we're hand in hand or pulling in opposite directions. We walk through the peaks and valleys of life, connected by the bond of family. But what if family was more than relationships? We believe family is the greatest untapped resource for bringing good to the world. But healthy families don't just happen. They're cultivated, nurtured, and shaped through commitment and connection. We believe family is meant to flourish. And when we invest in each other and follow Jesus together, life will overflow and make a powerful impact on our corner of the world. None of us are perfect. We'll stumble and fall. But we'll also pick each other up, apologize, and forgive. When we want to give up, we'll cling to a strength greater than our own and move forward by the grace of God, step by step. We're Family Life. How can we help you pursue the relationships that matter most?
So I want to ask you guys a question, and I would love your feedback. What do you guys feel like? Why do you feel like family is important to God? Why do you feel like it's on God's heart?
That's who's raising the kids, which are the future.
Say it again.
That's who's raising the kids that are the future.
Yes, for sure. It's all the future generations. Yeah, definitely. That's great. Anybody else?
That's how his blessings and his protection flow.
For sure. Blessings and protection flow through family, definitely. Anybody else?
We are adopted into his family.
Yeah.
We are a part of his family.
Yeah, he's all about family. From Genesis to Revelation, family is all in there. Anybody else? That's great stuff. That's good. I really feel like, you know, the greatest commandment, right, is to love your neighbor as yourself, and your closest neighbor is your family, in my opinion. And I feel like it's the greatest way for God to really show love, to have an atmosphere of love, and that's who God is. It has such a huge impact on us. It has such a huge impact on society as a whole. I feel like family, if you read a sociology book, at least they used to say family is the foundation of society. As the family goes, is how society goes. So it's really important. And I do want to say too, I don't know everyone here, I don't know all your situations, and I know there's a lot of brokenness in families and everything like that, and no one's perfect at family. No family's perfect. So don't be up here saying, oh, you're doing bad for society if your family's not doing well or something like that, or if there's been some mistakes that have happened. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying we want to help. You know, our family is definitely not perfect either. I literally had to YouTube how to hold a newborn before we had our babies. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this thing. I still don't know what to do. I'm figuring it out. And I'm the one staying home. So what I'm saying is we're all in the same boat. It's true.
Stay at home dad.
Yeah. So, you know, we're all making mistakes, but God redeems it just like he did with me, putting God in it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put God in it. But I want to ask you guys, what do you feel like are some struggles that families have today? What are some common struggles that families face?
Financial.
Definitely. For sure. It's a huge stressor. Illness. Definitely.
Being too busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're hitting it. Hitting major ones.
Lack of communication.
Yes. Yes.
Social media.
Say it again. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's so much out there. There's so many ways, well, I feel like, that promote disconnection in the family. The busyness, everything going on, right? Social media, you don't have to actually have a conversation with your family. You can go in your room and just be on your phone or whatever, you know, and we're guilty of it too, you know. So it's hard, and the lack of connection, like I said, it has an impact on the family, has an impact on society as a whole. People look to the internet for answers instead of family, you know. So it's a huge impact. It makes a big impact on society as a whole, and that's why we really feel called to this kind of ministry. We want to put God in the center, you know, bring that connection, help you pursue the relationships that matter most. God first, your family second. So that's kind of, you know, we shared our story. We shared about why we feel called to the ministry. And then, Katie, do you want to talk about, do you want me to ask a question, or you want to ask
You go ahead.
about, I guess there's a lot of different resources and a lot of great things out there to help families. What are you guys familiar with for resources to help marriage or family right now? Google. Yeah, no, that's a resource. Yeah, you can find stuff on there for sure.
Marriage devotions.
Yeah, marriage devotions. That's great. That's very good.
Anything else that comes to your mind?
There's some books that I would not recommend.
Yeah.
Yes.
That you wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
Yeah.
thoughts out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going to the teacher that he's put in each and every one of us and asking, what do I do to fix this?
Yeah. Holy Spirit is the best teacher. Definitely. God, for sure. That's good. Cool.
So with family life, there's, as you guys are saying, naming off different resources. there are different resources that any of us can utilize for a marriage, and they're good, and maybe some not so good, right? But so we know of what's out there and to what our knowledge is at this point, right? But there's always sometimes barriers, or counseling, right? We believe in counseling. I mean, there's a time and place for, I think, everything. And so there is a time and place, I think, for counseling as well. Sometimes people are at different places in their life or want different things. And sometimes we're just all created differently. What might help one person might not help the other, right? So what we really love about family life is nothing is cookie cutter. Everything is done in the frame of mind of how can we reach this person in this particular concept or context, and then what about this context, and what about this context. So like for military families, there's resources for that. For blended families, there's resources for that, because yes, there are certain things that are the same for everyone, but there are added dynamics, right? For blended families, it's just, that's how it is. And
All
so,
the step families.
yeah, and step families, and all these different things. And so what we love and we can really connect with for family life or in about family life is that they are really trying to reach people where they're at. Some people are really connected to their church, and like, let's say your mega church, right, in Dallas or wherever, and they have like their own marriage conference or their own marriage ministry pastor, right? But let's face it, that's like mega churches that probably can afford that. Not every church is going to have that setup or that structure. So what about everybody else, right? That's maybe not going to that mega church. What can they get plugged into? So this is all just kind of context to set up all the different things Family Life offers. One of them, there are books that we have. Family Life has their own publishing department. So Family Life does publish some materials, whether it be devotionals, whether it be, we have small group materials for marriage specifically, and then also for parenting. So there are some that are specifically for the topic of marriage and strengthening your marriage or helping your marriage in crisis. Then there are some that are based on, okay, how do you parent? How do you do this family thing? And how can you do it well? And how can you bring the Lord into it, right? So there are small group curriculums for parenting. Same as marriage conferences. And do they do a conference for the parenting one yet? I don't know if they do.
I don't know for sure.
I know that they have material for marriage conference that can be, technically you guys can probably do it here. It's like a plug and play type of conference where it's facilitated by your local pastor leadership, and then there's like workbooks and stuff to go along with it. However, there's also what they call a weekend to remember, if you guys have heard of that at all, or Blended and Blessed. Those are different marriage conferences that are at hotels, and they kind of do it as like a weekend getaway, so you and your spouse can go as a weekend getaway. Trevor and I went to one in Dallas, Las Colinas. They have one in Austin. There will be another one in Dallas in November. So they normally do it November before Thanksgiving. So I know that there's going to be one there, and there is going to be one in Austin. But some people are like, I don't want to feel like the people know my business, so I don't really want to go to a conference in my church. But maybe if I go, be anonymous, so to speak, at this hotel and marriage conference and getaway, sometimes people feel more comfortable with that. Or vice versa, right? Like I said, everybody's going to want something different. So that's what we really love. Different things that I'm forgetting. Oh, there is a radio show, right? If you've heard of Family Life Today, or they have Family Life Blended. So again, anything Blended and Blessed or Blended is all about pertaining to how can we do this Family Life Blended life, and how can we add in all these extra stresses and dynamics, and how can we still keep it healthy and keep good boundaries and keep the love going.
Yeah, it's different dynamics with step families,
sure.
And there's not a lot of resources out there for step families, even though it's like probably half the families out there, right? So
a lot of the curriculums and books you'll read now are mainly like focused on the nuclear family, the one mom, the one dad, the original kids, which sure is great, but that's not what society looks like a lot right now. And so how do you blend in all these other dynamics, right?
Yeah.
And do it in a God-centered way. So we love that as well. Go ahead.
Do you want to start talking about like what we're going to be doing specifically?
Yeah. So like just to kind of sum up, I guess, all those different things I was talking about have their own departments, right? So there are missionaries like Trevor and I that, depending on every missionary's calling and gifts, They might be in the publishing department. They might be in the marriage conference department. They might be in the small group material department. So there's all these different like departments or parts of the family life ministry. Trevor and I, based on kind of how we're wired and what our gifts and passions are, we're going to be part of what's called Family Life Local. And that is more of what you would think of as a missionary, and maybe that would be in some other country, where you kind of just put these missionaries in the community and they do outreach to the community. They, so that's basically the model that Trevor and I will be doing. Is we're going to be placed somewhere. Right now they're talking about either Austin or Oklahoma City are the two contenders, I guess. Not really contenders, but the two places they're looking at for us. So we either will be in Austin or Oklahoma City. And basically what we would be doing is almost kind of like what you're doing, just organically, like just meeting people in the community, bringing people together. But it would be focused in the context of marriage or parenting, and just bringing people together so that way we can really start conversations with people. The reason why we're considered a parachurch, right, organization, is because yes, we do help people that are in the church, but we also want to go to where people are. Some people might not feel comfortable starting right away in a church. Of course, we want them to be in a church, but you got to start where people are, right? You got to meet people where they're at. And so we would be trying to meet people, whether it's in a restaurant, whether it's in a grocery store, whether it's in a, obviously not in one of those like weird, strange, awkward, we don't want to like do anything like that where we make people feel weird. But that's kind of the heart and the vision of what we'd be doing. And so a lot of it is unknown, because a lot of it is like, all right, God, here we are, like this whole thing. We're just stepping out into the community and be like, all right, God, use us, and here we are. What do you want us to do? But this is the whole heart and the mission behind what we would be doing in that way.
Yeah.
Did I leave anything out?
I'll just say too, like, we're going to be trying to find specific pathways to reach the community, and finding specific avenues where we can reach people who aren't going into the church and things like that. And then we're also going to be we'll be working with the Weekend to Remember in the area, and we're going to be trying to get volunteers from that, training people, the conference, the Weekend to Remember. And we're going to try to have a lot of volunteers to help create a marriage movement, doing small groups in their homes, really easy plug and play, small group resources and things like that.
Can I say something? So let's say you take that marriage conference, right? That happens at the hotels. There's like a lot of people that go to that, 500 to 600 people sometimes, so it's a lot. So the vision behind that is, of course, that in itself is a ministry, but then you also are taking people from that. There's going to be some people that are there in crisis mode. They just need to focus on themselves, help their own marriage, right? But then there's going to be some people that are just going kind of for that, we love each other. We just want to stay good in our marriage. So we're going to this conference and we really care about marriage. So those types of people would be the types of people that would be ready for like that multiplication piece that Trevor was talking about. Like, all right, let's get those people together. Let's do a discipleship thing. Let's get them on fire or maybe they're already on fire and have a passion for marriage ministry. And then let's use them so that they can reach out to other people. And then, so it's like this whole like expansion vision of how can we really like reach a whole community by using different avenues. And one of those avenues would be that marriage conference that's at the hotel, just because it's a big, large gathering of people that are either in marriage crisis or in the other. And for the people in marriage crisis, then there'd be other like family life people that can follow up with them to see what they need help with for themselves, because they're in crisis mode at that point.
Yeah.
So kind of just meeting people where they're at once again and kind of going from there. So that way it's organically just based on the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
What God wants to do.
So I hope y'all could retain some of that. I know that was a lot of information. Sorry. Family life does too much, right? No, I'm just kidding. So do you guys have any questions before we talk to you about how you could potentially partner with us if you feel led to? And we always have room for questions later if you wanted to know more as well. But any off the top of your heads right now? Okay. So Katie and I are, just a second.
Okay.
Katie and I really feel called to this ministry, and the beautiful thing about ministry, and a lot of you guys know that, your pastor knows this, is that you can't do it. You can't do it on your own. You can't do it without God. And it really takes the body of Christ to really do something. You can't just be out there by yourself doing something, right? There's a team of y'all that made a bunch of food tonight, right? And so it was awesome. Thank you so much. So if you guys choose to be a part of our ministry with us, you'll be a part of this with us, helping reach the lost in the family context. You'll be helping us create healthy homes in America, around the world, because we're all interconnected too. We're going to be in one place, but we're connected with the larger ministry, and we're all learning from each other as well. So what we're looking for, there's 3 different ways you guys could potentially partner with us if you feel led to. One is, of course, prayer. You can't do ministry without prayer. Otherwise, you're just twiddling your thumbs. It's God that does it, like I said.
I want to emphasize that because we really need prayer warriors. So if you are like a type of prayer warrior person, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So we're not just saying pray to just like
For sure.
as, like,
Yeah.
a nice thing. We really do need prayer warriors, and I've actually been really humbled by the Lord, because He's been teaching me that I need to ask for prayer more, and before it becomes like this crisis time of like, oh my gosh, I need prayer. Like it should be more of like our lifestyle of, yes, have somebody pray for you.
Yeah.
That's something that God's actually been humbling me about. So we do actually mean that in a real way. If you know that God uses you as a prayer warrior, please join our team.
Yeah. So another thing is financially, primarily what we're looking for is monthly supporters, because we are trying to do this long term. So that's primarily what we're looking for in financially. And then thirdly, if you guys, like Linda did, and she's watching the kids right now, she connected us with y'all tonight. If you guys know of anyone, churches or individuals who may just be encouraged by what we're doing, we'd be happy to talk with them. Even treat them to a meal or do a Zoom call if they're not from here, or we would be happy to even get to know you guys more and treat you to a meal, on a more personal basis, and things like that if you're wanting to know more. But Katie's going to pass out some of our little handouts, and then if you open it, we have some pens as well in the bag. If you open it, or when you open it, you'll see a little card in there that has some contact information and some options if you want to hear more about what we're doing, or if you think you might be feeling called to this, or kind of just more interested in it, or even want to know some resources. Put your name on there. You can check a box, and we'll reach out to you. So if you want to give us that tonight while we're here, if you would like us to reach out to you for any reason, just let us know, and we would be happy to. So thank you guys so much for having us. It was a big blessing. We'd love to connect with you guys more, whether you join our team or not. So thank y'all.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So let's say we do have some people that come, they are in crisis, they just want some services.
Sure.
That's in here?
Yeah, so our contact information, our personal cell numbers and email are on the back of the brochures. If they need help getting connected to a resource, we can help. Or if they just want to talk, of course, we'll talk to people as well. On our website, familylife.com, there's a lot of free resources. You can go on there. There's a search bar at the top. You can Google, or you can not Google, you can search, rebellious teenager or whatever, and there's articles or podcasts that'll pop up, and they'll say, give you some good wisdom, like on how to help in that situation and things like that. So there's a lot of good resources online. You can reach out to us. Like I said, our contact information's on the back. So thank you. Any other questions? Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.